So on this journey into thinking about our 10,000th guitar, we're going back through the history of Emerald guitars and thinking about the unique instruments and the stories that have led us where we are now. And along the way, there's been some really extraordinary and interesting guitars that we've built. But not only have we built guitars, we've also built some violins. And there's an interesting story to how that all came about. And I've built 3 violins so far, all of them 6 strings, and all of them for the one individual. So where it all begins really is with the story of Lee Hom and Bahamut. And if you've been watching our content, you may have already read the story or seen the story about Bahamut. It's the amazing dragon guitar that I made for the Chinese artist Wang Lee Hom. And that guitar became incredibly famous and was seen all across Asia and indeed all across the world. But I started to get contacts from various different people asking me to build unusual instruments on the back of that. That's where the Draco bass came from. That was somebody in Thailand that had seen Lee Hom's dragon and wanted me to make a dragon bass. And then there were some other really nice custom jobs. But the one that really stood out was this guy from Malaysia who started contacting me asking me to build a violin. And I'm not a violin maker. You know, Ireland is a country where many violins have been made in the past, but it's not something I'd ever any knowledge of. Not something I'd really ever thought about doing. So it started, I was very reluctant and kept saying no. But this guy, Dennis Lau, kept pursuing me. So for a period of probably about 6 years, Dennis kept pursuing me. Every now and again he'd come on, he'd ask me again, Alistair, when are we going to build this violin? And we did share some design ideas back and forward, but never really got to a stage where it was something that was a design that we really thought was going to work. And then Dennis came on and stepped the thing up. He said, we're going to do a special concert and we want to build a special violin for it. And I think I grasped the idea. I thought, yeah, maybe there's something we can do here. And I think he found me at the right time where I had a little bit of time and headspace to think about it. So I thought, well, okay, let's see what we can do. So we thought about different ideas, different concepts. And the concept that we both came across was the Phoenix. And Dennis was thinking about really taking his music level, his music career to a different level and reigniting that. And so the idea of the Phoenix rising from the ashes, it's a really iconic image. And I thought there's something there that we could really work with. So we came across different ideas, sketched up some things, didn't really get anything that was super exciting, but there was something in the concept. So Dennis agreed that he would come over and we would design this violin here for him. Because the concept that I had was I started to think about the other instruments that he played, and he plays a Viper violin that's supported on his body with a strap. So I thought, well, what if we could go one further than having a violin that straps onto you and have something that you actually wear? So the concept was that this would be a phoenix, a bird, with its wings that would wrap right around your body. So obviously in order to do that, it was going to mean, had to be really fitted exactly to him. So Dennis came over, brought his own violin, and literally we started to sculpt the violin around him. It was really a fantastic time, but a great way to actually get to know him. And I showed him the initial ideas that I had. I'd made some original design sculptures that, let's just say, he wasn't very happy about. I was trying to read the direction that he wanted, and I think it just really wasn't quite edgy enough. So, but whenever you have the face-to-face with somebody, then you can really feel what it is that you need to do. So we started to talk about the ideas, and the very first day, I think we were both frustrated that we couldn't quite get it. And then that night, the idea came to life. I started to carve the head, and that night I carved the head, and I showed it to him the next morning, and it was perfect. So, and it's, you need that one form that then everything leads from. So the head is what came first, And I knew it was going to be a 6-string violin. I knew it was going to wrap around its body. Then I knew it was going to have this head that was really quite aggressively styled. And then from that, over the course of the next week, started to form the wings. So the wings was literally molded around his body, so that it would fit and hug perfectly onto Dennis' body. So it was a very, very different process than anything I'd ever done before. You know, I've done lots of guitars, made instruments that were quite sculptural, but I'd never made anything that you wear. I mean, this was like almost combining clothing with instrument making. But it was a really interesting process, and it was fantastic to have Dennis here with us for a week. While he was here, we went off and we recorded a music video, and we took him to some of the beautiful sites, Greenan Fort and Lost Salt, and experienced what is to this day the most incredible sunset that I've ever seen here in Ireland. Stunning sunset. Dennis is there playing the violin, and just a really amazing, surreal time. So Dennis went back to Malaysia, and then I got to work on building the violin, and we made a really beautiful shape that came together really while he was still here, and then molded that out of carbon fiber to make it very lightweight. To really make the whole thing pop, the idea was then to gild it in 23 karat gold. And so I managed to get an artist who specialized in gilding, and she helped me then put that together, and together we actually perfected the process of gilding it in 23 karat gold. So we made this violin, this beautiful golden violin. I had to learn the entire processes of how to go about making a violin, not just a normal 4-string, but a 6-string. And lo and behold, the thing looked incredible, sounded incredible. And I guess, you know, truth be told, it's a much easier process to make an electric instrument, an electric violin, than if I was to try and perfect the art of an acoustic violin like Stradivarius and everyone that's come back after that. So we made this electric violin. We put gemstones in the eyes. We put LEDs in behind the gemstones so that they would light up and change color. Made this beautiful floor stand that it sits on and rotates on, because really I wanted it to become a sculpture, and that's what it became. And then also had to make a custom case, because when you make something like that, it's so valuable and so unusual, you've got to make a case that goes in. So that in itself was quite a process to sculpt a case, a carbon fiber case that takes an instrument like that. But it was just a fantastic process, really, of stretching my entire ability as an instrument maker. And everything that I had learned in making guitars then went into making a violin. So I discovered that the two things really were quite intertwined, and it worked really well. But the most amazing thing about that is you can make something that's visually really fantastic, and it can look great, but it's just a sculpture. When it's sitting on its pedestal, it's still just a sculpture, and really it's whenever it's played that it becomes something special. So Dennis had this concept for a concert series that he was going to do, the Phoenix Rising concert, and so we took the violin, I hand delivered it in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, and went for the grand unveiling of the instrument. And that was quite something to be part of, a big press release. Even found myself on TV in Kuala Lumpur, on radio stations and all kinds of media outlets, which was something quite new for me at the time. I'd never been part of, but it was a lot of fun. And then a couple of months later, myself and Kim went back for the concert, and it was just incredible just to see that instrument being unveiled for the first time to an audience. And just seeing the response to it, it was really, really quite something. So it was just, I guess I gotta have to be really grateful for Dennis to have wanted to come after a guitar maker to make his dream violin, and I guess you know, when I talked to him about that, he had a concept, he knew what he wanted, and violin makers couldn't make it, and so I was very grateful that he came and found me. But it didn't just stop there. That led on to a couple of other pieces. So his friend commissioned me to build another violin that was going to be a sculpture in his amazing collection of art, and also to be played by Dennis, and that was the Sulach dragon violin. Probably the most complex instrument in some ways that I've ever made. The detail in the head, the way its body was sculpted and formed, was a really exceptional piece. That one I gilded myself in palladium, and it just has the most incredible look. Once again, managed to take the opportunity to hand deliver that to Kuala Lumpur, and it was another fantastic trip there to deliver that beautiful instrument. Then there was a third instrument, because we've made two that were just so dramatic and flamboyant. The concept then was to make one then that was going to be entirely the opposite and was going to be the simplest possible violin. So we made the chosen violin. Once again, it was a 6-string violin, but in a very, very simple form, but also that had a mechanism that allowed it to attach to his body. And that was really nice to take something entirely the different way and think about the simplest possible form, but still entirely functional. So that's it. That's the story of the 3 violins that we've made over the years. 3 really special and exquisite pieces, and I'm very grateful that Dennis came and tracked me down in Ireland, and I'm told that he's going to come and visit us again here very soon, because what we discovered is sometimes when you gild something in gold, the process has to be right for it to stick. So after quite a number of years of use, we have to re-gild that and bring it back to its full beauty again. But what a wonderful thing to be part of, to be able to make 3 incredible violins, for them both, all 3 of them, to be 6-string violins, and who knows, someday I might build something as exotic as a 4-string violin. So that's it. That's the story of Dennis Lau, the Phoenix violin, and a beautiful golden instrument that's going to last for generations to come.